All right, if I could have everybody's attention, please. Back to your seats. I appreciate your taking the time to go over this. All right, now listen, it's really important that you understand something. What matters is that you learn to be the best student you can be. It doesn't really, the grade on a quiz is not important. It's all about learning your strengths and weaknesses and the kind of things you screw up so that you don't repeat those screw-ups in the future. And everybody has things they screw up. If you got 100 on this quiz, we just might not have asked the question about the particular thing that gives you a hard time. Now, it was great that you went over this quiz, and I saw lots of very specific conversation going on as people talk back and forth, and I saw a lot of epiphanies. That's like, oh yeah. However, if you don't look at this before tomorrow, there's a much greater chance you make the same mistake tomorrow you made today. But if you review it tonight before you start your homework, the odds are you won't make that mistake. Yes, Spencer?
Just a quick question about, it's related to math, kind of.
Okay, make it quick.
All right, so what day would the holiday break have to start on in order to get the most days out of it?
It doesn't work that way. The way it works is they go to the end of the calendar and they count backwards from the regions. And then they look at days off. Or they look at total days to add up to 180 teaching days with kids, and then they decide when and where they're going to put days off. Like some districts had the Wednesday before Thanksgiving off.
Yeah.
We didn't.
We didn't?
No, we came to school on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. But now,
15 minutes extra, don't worry.
if you look at our calendar, we have extra days off at Memorial Day. So some kids, no, that's great.
I'd rather have the holidays.
No, you want Memorial Day because the weather's gonna be beautiful, you're gonna be fed up with going to school, and the nice 6-day break is a good thing. They could take it
6
away.
days for Memorial Day?
That's amazing.
There's a sequence to
I'd
it.
rather
That
have
happened
13
last
days.
year, I think.
Yes, yeah, because we used up so many snow days, but that's the same with everything. Okay,
Actually, we still have 2 days.
At least 3.
We had,
They're like, oh, we only have
Cindy, I've been doing this for a really long time. There are times where over like a 2 or 3 year period, you don't use any. And then there'll be a year where you use 5, and then you get hit with Hurricane Sandy and you use 7. So you just never know. Okay. It's not about fault. It is the way it is. Okay. Can you get out last night's homework, please? Spencer, kill the lights. Thank you. Ladies in the back, homework. Let's get it out. I want to make sure that we're graphing simultaneous equations before we proceed forward and talk about inequalities, which is today's lesson. And it's very closely related to what we've been doing the last couple of days. So, take a look at your work on these 3 questions. Most importantly, this first one at the top of the page. And did you get the intersection point to be 1, -3?
no.
If the answer is no, where did you make your mistake? Analyze your own work. Where did you go wrong? Question.
I don't know how to set it up on the graph, but how do we solve first, define where we have to plot the points?
Well, you always have to make it say y equals mx plus b. And as soon as you make it say y equals mx plus b, then you can start plotting it on the graph, or if you wanted to, you could go to the calculator. I think this is a really easy one, and the calculator is superfluous or a little unnecessary, but you could use it if you wanted to, okay? All right, this must, listen to that word, must be automatic after today. You need to look at a question like this and nail it every single time. There will not be extra help tomorrow. I have a parent conference in the morning. There is extra help at Carnegie Building tonight. There's a relearn packet out. It's going to be mobbed. There's nothing I can do about that. If you are struggling with this, you can talk to me tonight, or you can talk to your friends at lunch. You do whatever you have to do to make sure that you can get these questions right, because this must be correct by the time we're done with today. If you're learning at the pace you should be learning at, okay? My hope is, and the slopes on today's quiz were a lot better. My hope is that I no longer need to necessarily write, oh, this is a rate of change one, 7/3, right? You plug in a 0 because it wants 0 to 3, 0, 2 to 0 is 1, 2 to 3 is 8, and then you do the slope formula. My hope is that as I get to this bottom one, number 4, I don't really need to always write the 2's and 1's anymore. Bless you. From now on, I think you should be comfortable enough with slope that you understand you need to go in the same direction. In this case, left to right, left to right. 5 over negative 6. Here's your consecutive integer problem, 8, 9, 10. Any questions? Yes.
You said that you don't want us to label it,
Label what?
like the 1 and the 2 at the bottom.
Oh, no, I'm not saying I don't want you to. I'm saying you don't have to feel you have to.
Oh, okay, because I feel like actually label X1 as
Sure,
X.
yeah, that's fine, if that's the way you like to do it.
Because I know my brain, like, is sometimes
Yes,
somewhere else,
absolutely.
and I
You
need
you
to
are
actually
doing
able to
things
look at
perfectly. It's, yeah, listen, I want to make this clear. Don't do what I want you to do. Do what you feel works best for you. But what I don't want to do is always get bogged down in writing that out because it wastes a little time each day.
Like how, when we did those equations, like on number 3,
Mhm.
I would always be used to, they would, like last year, they kept saying railroad tracks, so I would do that, like the 2 lines, like.
Oh, in the middle of the equals?
Yeah, because they would like even take points off if you didn't do it.
Right.
And I would be like, I would do it, and then you're like, I don't, like, you guys should try not to do that.
Right, what's the point?
And now I can do it.
Right, exactly. The whole idea, you matter, I don't matter. But what also I want to be able to do is, we're probably going to do 50 slopes between now and the end of the year, maybe 100. And I don't want to have to write that out every time. So I want people to be able to morph away and still understand. They don't have to do that on their paper. Quickly.
Number 3, how do you know when you have to do the equal sign for the other side of the equation?
Such that the sum of the first 2 doubled is.
Okay.
All right. Now we go to this question from last night, and we should meet at the point 3, 3. Again, this should be correct. This is a very predictable, and I'm not saying it's an overly easy question, but I am saying that by now, after all the things we've graphed, you should be very comfortable with this. You should look at this, have a strong sense of direction, and confident that you're going to nail this without any problem. Spencer, what was the question?
What's the second number?
3. Bad handwriting. I have awful handwriting. God bless.
Is it negative 3?
No, 3, 3. Okay, any other questions? All right, so let's go to today's sheet. All right, that looks about perfect for teaching purposes. What's the average rate of change over the interval from -2 to 3? What answer did you guys get? Anthony?
-2.
Did everybody get -2? No. Who did not get -2? What did you get?
2 over 5.
2 over 5. Well, it appears I'm going to need to do this one. I was hoping everybody would get the same answer and we wouldn't need to discuss it. What's that?
I said this must be -10.
Ah, there we go. All right.
Is that what 0 is?
Now,
No?
okay, in the game here. I need -2 and 3, so I'm going to input a -2. I'm going to input a 3. If I input a -2, -2 squared is 4. -3 times -2 is 6, and 4 plus 6 is 10. If you put that into the calculator, make sure you use a parentheses around the -2 when you put it into it squared. Otherwise, it'll tell you -4 instead of +4. Every time you put a negative into the calculator, always put parentheses. It is the only way to avoid all problems. Now plugging in the 3, 3 squared is 9, minus 3 times 3 is 9, so 3 goes to 0. So, I'll subtract this way to keep the order the same. I get 10 minus 0 over -2 minus 3, and I get 10 over -5, which is -2.
Yeah,
Okay? Yes?
Did he say negative?
Because when I labeled it, I
H.
labeled -2 is x1, and then 10 is y1, and then 3 is x2, and 0 is y2. But then I got -10.
But if you then do, did you do 1 minus 2 or 2 minus 1?
1 minus 2.
So then you go 10 minus 0, -2 minus -3. Pardon me, -2 minus 3. It looks to me like you messed up this.
I did 0 minus 10 and 3 minus 2.
It would be 3 minus -2,
Or 3 plus 2.
and that's 5.
Oh, minus negative, okay.
Yeah. Okay, now let's get to Folks, let's get, hey, guys. The whole point behind today's lesson, this is today's lesson, right? And it is extremely, extremely related to what we've been doing so far. But there are two differences between this one and graphing a line. We're now going to graph inequality. Let's go back, a little while ago, we talked about solving an inequality, just an equation versus an inequality. We said when we solve an equation, it's kind of like going into cyberspace. You want to find, if it says something like 2x plus 1 equals 5, you want to find the one and only one number, so that 2 times that number plus 1 equals 5. We go through all the numbers out in Numberland, and we come up with 2. But then we said, what if we wanted to do 2x plus 1 is greater than 5? We said there's not only one answer to that question, there are an infinite number of answers to that question. And just like for an equation versus an inequality, for solving purposes with a single variable, there's one solution versus an infinite solution. With a less than or greater than symbol, there are infinite solutions. There's not just one. Now, the first thing is that the slope is 2 and the y-intercept is -5. That doesn't change. Same way we've been doing it before. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Slope is up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. And we always want to make this graph nice and long. We don't want the graph to be a part of the coordinate plane we're given. We want to make it a lot. And now, so far, that's the guts of the problem. That's the hard stuff. Now there are 2 additional things you need to remember from now on whenever you graph inequalities. The first one is this. You know how there's a difference between graphing x is greater than 2 versus graphing x is greater than or equal to 2?
Yeah, I know.
What's the difference? Everybody?
Circles.
Right, open and close circle. So this would be 2 shaded in, arrow to the right. This would be 2, leave it open, arrow to the right. So when it's just or greater than and not or equal to, you don't fill it in. Well, it's kind of like that with a line. What we're going to do now is make a line, but I'm going to make it a broken line. So kind of like you leave the circle open, you leave the line open. So that's the first difference. Okay? What do you think I would do if it was greater than or equal to?
You could do a solid line.
That's right, you do a solid line. Think of it as filling in all the little gaps. Just like when it's greater than or equal to here, on this second example with x is greater than or equal to 2, I filled in the circle. So if this was greater than or equal to or less than or equal to in terms of y is less than or equal to 2x minus 5, I would fill in all the gaps and it would be a solid line. We'll do one of those in a minute. And the next thing is that there are an infinite number of answers here, and when it comes to less than or greater than, you're going to need to shade the graph. You're going to need to shade above or below. Just like on these graphs, you shade right or left, right? If it's greater than, you shade to the right. If it's less than, we shade to the left. With a less than or greater than line, instead of shading left and right, we shade above and below. Now, let me ask you a question. You go into a 10-foot deep pool. How tall are you?
Like,
5'1". Is your head above the water or below the water?
Below.
Below. Now, are you less than 10 feet or are you greater than 10 feet? Less than. So less than, your head is below the water. So less than we shade below, greater than we shade above. So all I need to do is this. And those are your 2 differences. Difference number 1, is the line broken or is it solid? If it's a less than or greater than symbol, it's broken. If it's less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, it's solid. And the second thing, the second difference is that you have to shade it. If it's less than, you shade below. If it's greater than, you shade above. Other than that, this is exactly what you already know. Okay? Questions? All right, let's go to the next one. Now, let me see you just graph the first one. Y is greater than 3x minus 4. Greater than or equal to, I'm sorry. 3x minus 4. Just graph the first one. Don't graph anything else. And we're a little bit pressed for time, so be quick. It's already in y equals mx plus b form, so you know the y-intercept, you know the slope. You should be thinking right now if it's broken or if it's solid. And then the last step is, do you shade above or do you shade below? Okay, so I have placed my y-intercept there. I know that my y-intercept is -4, and I've gone up by my slope, which is 3. Now, the next question, is this a broken or a solid line? Everybody? Solid, because of the?
Equal to.
Or equal to, very good. Next, do I shade above or below? Above. Why do I shade above? Greater than. So I come right in here, and I shade above. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. And the issue here, I can tell you right now, danger, danger, danger. That -2. First I subtract x, and I'm gonna get -2 is greater than -x minus 4. What's my next step, everybody?
Divide by 2.
Divide by
One.
-2. Now, here's your danger step. You ready? You remember how when you multiply or divide an inequality by a negative, you have to do something? Switch the sign. That's the step that kids will forget. All right, so I'm gonna get, y is less than 1/2 x plus, yeah, I divided it, plus 2. So now I go to +2, and the slope is gonna be up 1/2,
Wait, how do you know that?
because it's 1/2 x,
Oh, but how do you know for the first one then?
because it's a 2 at the end.
No, for the red one though.
Huh?
For the first line, how do we know what the slope is? I mean, not
Because
the
it's in
slope.
front of the x.
No, not the slope. How, like, I don't know what it's called. How many it goes up by.
One.
How do you know where to put the spots?
Oh, well, you begin at -4, and then you go up 3/1.
Oh.
The B is where you begin, right? Okay, hey, hold it. This is a broken line, right? And we're going to shade above again. One last thing, listen, hey, stop. One last thing with inequalities. Wherever it double shades, listen to me, stop what you're doing. Whenever it double shades, and they're on top of each other, the red and the blue, we always write a great big S, because that's the solution set. Okay? All right, hasta la vista, vaya con Dios, toodaloo, ta-ta, arrivederci. Same lesson tomorrow, so you get one more day to really get this down pat.
Get my sheet.
Give me 1 second, I just want to turn the recorder off.